Carol Burnett became a TV sensation thanks to her pleasant demeanor and sharp sense of humor, which made audiences laugh for decades. She would later claim that she detested him more than anybody else in her life because of their strained and hostile working relationship behind the scenes. Carol Burnett detested him more than anyone else. On April 26, 1933, Carol Burnett was born in San Antonio, Texas. Carol Creighton Burnett is the full name she goes by. Burnett grew up primarily with her grandma in a modest apartment in Los Angeles. Due to her parents' financial difficulties and alcoholism, she was raised in a challenging environment. Despite her struggles, she discovered that comedy and creativity helped her cope with life's challenges. She frequently amused herself and her pals with goofy antics and her ability to mimic people. Burnett's actual ascent to stardom began when she enrolled in the journalism program at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. But as she fell in love with the performance arts, her objectives swiftly shifted. She received funding from an unnamed donor to relocate to New York City and attempt to earn a career as a theater performer. In return, she pledged to repay the favor by helping someone else in need one day. This deed of generosity would later come to symbolize Burnett's own philosophy, which is centered on gratitude, kindness, and giving back. Burnett began her television career in the 1950s by participating in chat and variety shows, most notably The Gary Moore Show. She stood out there thanks to her expressive face, physical comedy talents, and innate ability to transition between seriousness and wild humor. It was "I Made a Fool of Myself Over John Foster Dulles," which was her breakthrough performance. It demonstrated not only her sense of humor, but also her bravery and inventiveness in parodying even the most improbable subjects. People appreciated her candor and ability to laugh at herself, two qualities that would serve her well throughout her career. The Carol Burnett Show was the pinnacle of her career when it debuted on CBS in 1967. In an era when TV variety shows were primarily hosted by men, Burnett defied convention by becoming the first female host of a primetime variety sketch show. Up to 1978, the program aired for 11 seasons. People will always remember the amazing blend of witty humor, outstanding character development, musical performances, and comedy. If she was portraying the dreadfully uncoordinated servant Mrs. Weather, it was creating intricate parodies of classic films like Went with the Wind or playing the always disorganized Eunice in the Family skits. Burnett demonstrated a broad variety of abilities and a willingness to experiment in her work. Her relationships with Tim Conway, Lyle Waggoner, Vicki Lawrence, and Harvey Korman enabled some of the most iconic moments in television history. Off-screen, Burnett's trademark audience Q&As at the beginning of each show became a symbol of her warmth and approachability. Wearing an evening gown, she would enter the stage and respond to audience queries with candor, humor, and a readiness to share personal anecdotes. People felt as though they knew her personally because of her openness, to be honest with them. Over her career, Burnett received numerous honors, such as Golden Globes, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and multiple Emmys. In addition, she received the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor in 2013 and the Kennedy Center Honors in 2003. Her image as a cultural icon who opened doors for many women in entertainment, as well as a comic genius, was cemented by these honors. Along with her professional accomplishments, Burnett has displayed great bravery when dealing with personal issues. Her family suffered greatly, including the 2002 death of her daughter, Carrie Hamilton, from cancer. She has since talked candidly about her grief, her resilience, and the therapeutic value of humor. Others who are experiencing similar difficulties have benefited from this. Her life, work, and the people who influenced it are candidly and poignantly described in her memoirs, such as One More Time and This Time Together. Carol Burnett influenced nearly every aspect of comedy and entertainment in the modern era. Her ability to blend intelligent, character-driven humor with physical comedy has served as an inspiration to many comedians, including Tina Fey and Kristen Wiig. She broke down barriers as a female host in a largely male-dominated field and continues to motivate others by serving as an example of what is achievable with skill, determination, and grace. Despite her advanced age, she continues to make people laugh in films and television series, demonstrating that her sense of humor has never faded. Carol Burnett's personal life, particularly her marriages, greatly influenced her development into the well-known comedian and television personality she is today. They were married first, and he was her college boyfriend. On December 15, 1955, they were married, marking the beginning of a new chapter in Burnett's life as a young adult. At the time, Burnett was still establishing her career and adjusting to adulthood. However, they separated up in 1962 due to issues that had plagued their relationship. This period was significant for Burnett since it was at this time that she gradually rose to fame and entered the entertainment industry, which caused her emotional state to suffer greatly as her workload grew. Burnett's life was drastically altered by Joe Hamilton, whom she met shortly after her breakup with Saroyan. Hamilton and she were married on May 4, 1963. He significantly influenced her personal and professional lives. Joe Hamilton had extensive experience as a television director. After their separation, they had 8 children together, which added complexity and fascination to their new family. He had an even closer connection to the movie business because he was the brother of actress Kip Hamilton. Their collaboration started when Hamilton produced Burnett's well-known Carnegie Hall performance in 1962, where she dazzled the audience by fusing humor and song. This project swiftly developed into a lasting partnership. Many of Burnett's concepts were made a reality by Hamilton, such as The Carol Burnett Show, which rose to prominence as one of the most watched variety shows in television history. In addition to getting married, they collaborated creatively, which advanced Burnett's company to new heights. They had a family together and managed the pressures of show business. With 3 daughters, the couple must have found it challenging to juggle the demands of TV show production with the demands of a busy family. Despite their apparent compatibility, Burnett and Hamilton's marriage had its share of issues. They separated in 1984 after more than 2 decades of dating. One of the most difficult things they had to cope with was their daughter Carrie's drug addiction. Burnett and Hamilton became champions for parents experiencing similar circumstances as a result of this awful family predicament. At a time when individuals typically didn't discuss these topics in public, their candid discussions about the difficulties of dealing with addiction in the family helped destigmatize the topic. They also gathered funds for the facility where Carrie was receiving treatment in order to aid in her recovery. This demonstrated that they wished to assist others in the community in addition to their daughter. Burnett and Carrie traveled to Moscow in 1988 to assist in the establishment of the Soviet Union's first Alcoholics Anonymous chapter. This was a significant time of reconciliation and healing. This journey demonstrated Burnett's strong desire to promote recovery programs globally and help reduce the stigma associated with addiction. She was prepared to exploit her celebrity for purposes other than amusement, as seen by this conduct. Burnett's life took a tragic turn in 1991 when Joe Hamilton passed away from cancer. His passing signaled the end of a lengthy and significant personal and professional connection. Despite her personal issues in the 1980s, Burnett continued to utilize her voice for public health causes, including a well-known medical alert commercial. As a token of appreciation for becoming the organization's 1 millionth member, she received the 1 millionth Medical Alert bracelet. This demonstrated that she was a well-respected public figure who could bring significant health awareness to the public. Carol Burnett remarried on November 24, 2001, after a long separation. She wed Brian Miller this time, a gifted drummer who was 23 years her junior. Burnett was resilient and eager to start over in this marriage despite her difficult past. Her relationship with Miller demonstrated how vivacious she was and how open she was to finding love and friendship, despite what others may have thought of her background or age. Together, these ties create a complex tapestry that reveals not just the personal side of Carol Burnett's life, but also her resilience, empathy, and capacity to use her own hardships to affect change and assist others. Important turning points in her professional and personal development were associated with her marriages. Together, they depicted a woman who has lived life to the fullest, experienced profound love, and changed the world in several ways that will last a lifetime. Public figures frequently describe the relationship between Carol Burnett and Harvey Korman as a complex blend of intense affection, professional camaraderie, and creative genius. But there was a darker and less well-known emotional current running beneath the surface of their well-known comedic collaboration on The Carol Burnett Show. According to a number of accounts, Carol Burnett detested Harvey Korman more than anyone else in her life, indicating that her feelings went much beyond simple financial resentment. This intense distaste did not develop suddenly or in response to a single incident. Rather, it developed through years of close collaboration in the demanding environment of television production. Burnett struggled behind the scenes to strike a balance between the man she worked with and the man she occasionally truly loathed, while others viewed their sketches and recalled how well they got along and collaborated. Burnett was particularly upset with Korman because of his challenging demeanor and short fuse. Korman was notoriously erratic and gloomy, frequently losing his temper over trivial grievances or tense circumstances. Burnett had a strong work ethic and came from a modest background, so this odd behavior not only annoyed him, but also deeply distressed him. She believed that Korman's moods may disrupt the necessary creative atmosphere, producing worry that occasionally made the entire crew and cast ill. It was also said that Burnett was harmed by Korman's unusual arrogance and sense of entitlement. Although Burnett and Korman both had a lot of talent, Burnett frequently thought Korman didn't value her work or the sacrifices she made to keep the program running. She believed that he occasionally claimed too much credit and showed no appreciation for those who helped him advance in his career. Burnett was already feeling insecure and struggling in the male-dominated entertainment industry at the time, so this lack of respect was quite upsetting. To make matters worse, there were also disputes amongst individuals. Despite Burnett's reputation for kindness and compassion, she frequently became upset when Korman treated her rudely or coldly in private. Burnett occasionally felt alone and mentally unsupported, and their off-camera relationship never developed into a true friendship. She detested them even more since this private vacation was so dissimilar from the joyful public character they presented. When Burnett was interviewed years later, she was forthright about her true feelings for Korman. They were hurtful and confused. She admitted that there were moments when she couldn't bear him, despite the fact that she found him humorous and knew he had skill. Her anger, despair, and irritation might occasionally become so intense that they nearly evolved into hatred, particularly during arguments or when Korman's actions upset the equilibrium of their workplace. The fact that Burnett and Korman spent so much time together on the show made their intense dislike of one another even more evident, making it difficult to ignore or avoid the terrible moments. Their connection necessitated closeness and cooperation, which made every annoyance or grievance sound worse than when working with more casual co-workers. Burnett found it more difficult to manage these emotions since she had to conceal a lot of her rage during filming and public appearances in order to maintain her professionalism. One could argue that Burnett's distaste for Korman demonstrated her intense devotion to the program and her co-workers. When great individuals who have collaborated for a long time split up, it can be quite distressing, particularly after years of success. Burnett experienced the worst feeling she had ever experienced toward anyone in a poisonous environment that occasionally resulted from personal conflicts, professional demands, and the disappointment of not living up to expectations. Ultimately, This complex collaboration demonstrates the reality of show business. Although Burnett and Corman are remembered as a fantastic comedy duo, their backstage lives were far more chaotic. When two strong personalities come together, there were emotional confrontations, power struggles, and the intense, occasionally irate emotions that result. The complexity and genuineness of the connections that underpin the laughing are demonstrated by Carol Burnett's candid and profound admission that she detested Harvey Korman more than anybody else.